What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? This is GMrDrew here to welcome you to another episode of the Andrew Glowczewski Experience, episode 48, and my bow I believe it's part 4 or part 5. I don't know what part it is anymore. These things go on for so long sometimes. Yeah. So for this episode, I'm gonna be picking up where we left off, which was I was throwing some micro pen details on the axe heads, hammerhead, the ice pick and all that, as well as the handles here. And then I was also working on some bows, and I don't know. Of course, I'd love to finish them today. I kind of want to move on from this page, just because there's a part of me that's like, okay, we get the gist of it, like we got it, like let's move on. But then there's the other part of me that's like, fill up the page, like don't move on from the page until you at least fill it up. Like I got this corner here, so I want to finish rendering these things. Probably throw a little more micro pen in everything, and then maybe throw some quivers, because I think I got enough bows in here. So yeah, that's how we're living, man. I just got done watching the newest episode of Wandavision. I believe it was like episode 7 or 8. Let me see. Yeah, episode 8, where they go through her story, basically her origins, and they talk about let's see if anything I want to do here with this. There we go. Yeah, just something simple. But yeah, they were going through her origin story, man, and shit. How fucking sad does that make you, man? Spoilers ahead. I can't believe I actually have to say that. But yeah, they go through her backstory, kind of everything that people have been guessing about her, as far as like why the sitcom theme. And it was like, okay, she's from Sokovia. She grew up watching these things, like the old classic American stuffs growing up. I'm guessing she must have, like, in order for her to be who she is today, she must have grew up like I wonder if she's like my age, because if I'm like 32, I was born in 88. Like, I wonder if she was born around 88 or maybe early 90s or something. Yeah, who knows? Let me pull up chat here. But, like I said, I've been watching a bunch of like theory videos, and I haven't watched anything about this episode yet, so everything that I'm going to be saying now is just off the top of my dome. Obviously excluding all the past things that I've watched. And people breaking these things down and making these guesses. I wonder if I could draw over this, or if I have to just use my regular pencil. yeah. Let me. It's so funny. I never thought I'd be doing like quivers, quivers for bows, but whatever. So yeah, they go through her backstory. They show her childhood with her parents, and we get to see, big bro, baby version, not baby version, but little boy version of PH Row. See her parents. One thing that was interesting to note was that her parents weren't the people in the commercials, uh, like had been theorized. Like, oh, those people that keep popping up in these commercials, uh, they must be her parents. But no, I guess not. And yeah, it's just wild, man. There we go. And it shows the story that we all heard in Age of Ultron, as far as like her parents uh getting blown up by a Stark shell, and the Stark shell sitting there for 2 days, and they kind of retcon. They don't really retcon because they didn't go in depth about it before, but they retcon at least our thoughts on what happened. As far as like, okay, the bomb didn't go off, so the bomb didn't go off, and what they're trying to introduce the idea of the reason why the bomb didn't go off was because of Wanda herself as a kid just naturally inclined to uh, stop the bomb from going off in order to save her and her brother, which is kind of wild. Um, there have been a lot of theories about people talking about uh, them using Scarlet Witch as a Dark Phoenix type of character. And so I've been watching videos of people trying to draw parallels between Scarlet Witch's abilities and Jean Grey's. Because we all really want that. Really want the X-Men, of course. Are we focused? There we are. The screen's always dark because it's so dark in here. I got all the lights blasting on the page, but it's like the sun's not even out yet, so it'd be mad dark in here. Anyways, so people have been trying to draw parallels, and I dig it. I mean, if you're trying to, if that's the route you want to go, where there's like an introduction, instead of no more mutants, like let there be mutants sort of thing, one way or another. however you want to like verbalize it, but run that concept, as well as the fact of her being able to do anything she wants, very much like how Jean Grey, through her telepathy and telekinesis and all telekinetics and all the tele powers that she has, which makes the television thing even more funny, because it's like, oh, the telly, like tell her this and tell her that. I get it. Um, yeah, people have been trying to draw that line, and I think with her being the child, being a young child, to be able to, if she really did stop that bomb, which is what they're kind of trying to say here, if she really did do that, it kind of mimics Jean Grey's awakening her power at an early age. The way that the X-Men and the mutants in the X-Men always worked was, at least how I learned it, was that they developed it, more or less like as teenagers, like when they begin to mature. That's when they kind of get their powers. That's when their powers awaken. That's why they're all teenagers. That's how they explain it, to be teenagers. I mean, not because they're marketing to teenagers, of course not. But I mean, it was a cool way of putting it. And I mean, hey, if you got to make something work, just make it work. And it's because they're teenagers. Okay, cool. Like that's what I mean when I be working on these things, and I kind of just make shit up as I go, like making all this metal yellow because I think it'll bounce off of the blue atmosphere a lot more than silver would, because silver would just kind of camouflage right in, but the yellow metal will just like how I was making that shit up the other day. Like, these creators, you gotta just make shit up. That's the whole point of being a creator and a creative and creating things, is like, it doesn't exist. So if it's going to exist, well, what's up? So yeah, that's how at least I always learned about the X-Men, is that they develop their powers when they're developing as, young adults or teenagers or things like that. And I guess Jean Grey was always special because she was a lot younger. I think even in the comic books and in the movie, the Dark Phoenix movie, the more recent one, I can't remember the X-Men: The Last Stand movie. I can't remember if they told her backstory then of being a little girl. They probably did. I should probably go back and rewatch it. I wonder if it's on Disney Plus. I got me Disney Plus, obviously. And I know that they just dropped the X-Men joints on there recently. Oh, probably from that Fox acquisition or Universal acquisition or something. X-Men, X2. Oh, do they not have X3? Like I'm looking through the roster right now. I see X-Men. I see X2, Fantastic Four, Wolverine, Days of Future Past, X-Men Apocalypse, but they don't have I think it was called The Last Stand, right? So if I just type in X-Men. Wow, they don't have the third movie with the Dark Phoenix, X-Men The Last Stand. So I can't even watch it. At least not on there. I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to watch it on anything else that I have. Either way. Because I could just throw it on in the background. And I imagine that they would put that kind of in the forefront. If they were going to show that. I can't remember if they did or not. But either way, and I don't know if in the comics, if they ever like retconned it in any way, but from my understanding, Jean Grey has always been special because she got her powers early. Like, she got it as a kid. And, you know, there's some, like, messed up stuff behind it as far as, like, she got into an accident or something, or a friend of hers got into an accident, and it was within that accident that she had psychically linked herself with a friend who died or something like that. So in order for her friend not to pass on, or just to keep talking to her friend, because I imagine they're kids, so she doesn't really know what she's doing. She's just like, no, I just want to talk to my friend. You know what I mean? Like the innocence of children. Of like, no, I just want to talk to my friend. I don't want to... I'm not trying to be a mutant or a telepath or a tele anything. Like, I just wanted to talk to my friend. But in doing so, like, she awakened her mutant gene, like, mad early. And because of that, yeah, because of that, she was just more powerful than most. And obviously the Dark Phoenix was something that she inherited. But going back to Wanda and how this relates to her, is just like, oh, because she was a kid when she first used her witch power in order for that bomb to not blow up. I mean, how dope is that? Like to retcon that idea that was introduced to us in Age of Ultron. And for them to never even allude to it. Like, if you go back and watch it, because I watched Age of Ultron recently, because of all this WandaVision stuff, and I was just like, oh, I rewatched it because I didn't know Pietro was kick-ass. And I was like, no fucking way. Like, I just learned that shit just now, and not just now, but like a couple weeks ago with that episode where she goes kick-ass. And then it was like, wait, kick-ass and, you know, his friend, they both played Quicksilver. Like, I didn't know that. And I have Kick-Ass, like on DVD or Blu-ray or something. Like, I love that movie. And I didn't recognize Pietro as that actor. Maybe just because he was like swole. You know what I mean? I know he got swole for Godzilla, but he looked like him. Looking swole and looking like Pietro, I didn't recognize him, man. That was funny. So I went back and watched it because of that. And yeah, man, there's... How wild is that they changed that story from like, oh no, it wasn't a bummer bomb. It was Wanda saving their asses. How wild is that? So they continue down the rabbit hole after that, and then they talk about her, you know, what happened next, which was, um, you know, something that would have happened before the Age of Ultron movie, because in Age of Ultron we're just introduced to them as, you know, they had already been in the Hydra compound. They've already been experimented on. Like whatever Hydra was doing, we catch them in the beginning of the testing phase before they found the twins, or when they found the twins. There we go. And we don't see Petro anymore after this, which kind of breaks my heart. But, you know, I guess it makes sense. You can't bring the actor back, because then they would have had to have hired that kick-ass guy, I guess, in order to bring him back to shoot the scene. But it would have been nice to have seen him, you know, because they were, you know, Hydra's running these experiments like some creeps. And, you know, they're bringing orphans. Oh, man, it's so fucking dark. Bringing orphans into, you know, like an experiment room with the Loki Pokey stick. And they're just, like, blasting people with Infinity Stone power or whatever they're doing in there. But, like, some weird hallucination shit goes down where it's like the Infinity Stone chooses her or something. I don't know if the Infinity Stone woke up or if it was her powers. I mean, obviously we were taking it on a trip down memory lane of her powers, so it would have been like it was her power that was making that hallucinatory effect happen, where it really happened, but I guess like the cameras and the Hydra thing didn't pick it up, so they didn't see it. That part was kind of weird, but it was kind of like this experience. And it's funny because it was the Mind Stone that, you know, was doing that. I just say it's funny because you know, obviously the Mind Stone is Vision, so it was kind of like the first time her and Vision would have, or something of Vision would have met, because obviously Vision is comprised of the Mind Stone. So it's almost like the Mind Stone meets Wanda, and then when Vision is created, it was basically the Mind Stone like personifying itself. Amazing that it doesn't have any memory of that, or at least Vision never talks about, like, you know, a memory of that. You know, Vision was never like, oh yeah, I remember when we first met. You were dressed like little orphan Annie. You know, or some shit. But either way, and we get this awesome scene, which is what I think I'm going to be working on later on today, because it was so crazy. I mean, they got the music playing, the score's going nuts, you know. And basically, I didn't know what it was I saw the first time I was looking at it because, I'm watching this at like 4 a.m. So my eyes are still a little hazy and whatever, and I'm looking at all this magic shit, and I'm like, okay, they're going down memory lane, but then they got the score going, and I'm like, what's happening right now? What does she see? Does she see vision? Does she see the future? Does she see what does she see? And then we get to see what she sees, and she sees uh I guess a silhouette of herself. When I first saw it, I thought it was Mephisto. Straight up, I thought it was like, because you see this kind of effeminate figure with horns, and I was like, oh, it's Mephisto. Like, I kind of blinked. And because, the scene was so dope, I immediately went back and replayed it. And then, no, it wasn't Mephisto. She was definitely looking at herself, or the future version of herself, as the Scarlet Witch. And the horns on the head were from her uniform and shit like that. And I was just like, okay, that makes sense. They're still not introducing Mephisto in silhouette form just yet. We'll see. Yeah, see, I guess I can draw over this with the regular pencil here. Look at that, I got space to fit another one. I don't have to put like the string or anything like that. There we go. So yeah, it's probably, one of the best shots I've seen in a while. I just love that shit. It like screams comic books, when you have a you just get that power shot, full outfit, full costume. And you got the score going and all that shit, like, obviously. Yeah, I was definitely feeling that. There you go. Pencil's not really picking it up too much. like I said, I wanted to introduce a little bit more of the fish element that this culture brings in. I wanted to add some shark stuff. So while I'm fixing this up, let me... And these are kind of more like just heavy, like for a heavy bow or something like that. Yeah, much like this dragon head one. Oh man, I hate that this happens every morning, but give me a second. Gonna take a quick emergency break. I apologize as always. You're not gonna stay up for me? There we go. Alright, I'm back. Sorry for that. Alright, so I was able to squeeze in this kind of sharky There we go. So where was I? I was talking about the dopest scene ever. And yeah, let me jump onto this one. Like I said, I kind of want to finish this page off, so, and I gotta jump on the quivers first, but let me shade these things in while I'm here. Shouldn't be spending so much time on this stuff, but you know, trying to keep a train of thought, a conscious flow, and trying to focus on art at the same time, so that way I'm not just like silent. You know, I want to engage with people. If only there were people watching. So yeah, you know that. So we see her encounter with the Infinity Stone, and it was crazy that Agatha knew what the Infinity Stone was, but I guess not. I'm still wondering about Agatha's role as a witch, because you know they're playing her as just like, you know, some old wicked witch of, you know, the Salem trials and da 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 da, which is whatever. But I'm wondering how much does that have to do with you know, the Doctor Strange and the Order of the Wizards, or whatever, the, you know, and the Synchros Sanctorum or whatever that shit is called. Like, I wonder what her role is in all that. You know, I wanted to go back and rewatch Doctor Strange, because I recall there being a scene where they're in the library and they're looking at a book and they're like, oh, there's a book missing. But I'm wondering, I'm pretty sure that had to do with the plot of the movie of Caecilius or whatever. You know, the character that Mads Mikkelsen played stole a book, I believe. I think that was why there was a book missing, but maybe not. And maybe the book that's missing is the one that Agatha has. And obviously the ancient one would still be older than Agatha as a Salem witch, because, you know, I think the ancient one was from like Celtic times or something like that. Which is funny, because that's kind of like Thor times, when like a young, in the comics at least, young Thor used to visit Earth. Which is, you know, how the whole mythos of Thor would have began. That's how the, you know, whatever. I'm getting off track here. So So yeah, Agatha knew what an Infinity Stone was, and I wonder how much of this is just given knowledge. Because it's like Thanos did the snap. Like, we know what Infinity Stones are because we've been watching these movies. We're behind the scenes. But how does, like, people are questioning, how does Jimmy Woo know about scrolls? And just like that, how does anybody know about these Infinity Stones? Like, who's like giving away all this information? Because we certainly didn't see it happen. Where it was like, oh, like a public announcement. Oh, a purple alien from God knows where, one of the moons of Saturn, believe it or not, like some shit. They're like, oh, yeah, they had these magical stones, snapped his fingers, and like we haven't seen any public announcement. Yeah, I think this is. I think this is enough. And Agatha's still like, nah, we need to go deeper because we still haven't gotten to how you're able to do all this crazy magic shit. And it's like, oh man, what? So, and then she kind of wraps it up saying, like, all right, so your parents died with that, on that first memory with the bombshell. Your brother died. We all know about that because of Age of Ultron. Um, so dead parents, dead brother, and then um, they go to another sad memory of after the Hydra base. They go to her like a memory that we never got to see. It's kind of on par with I guess it was what movie was it? Civil War, I guess. I guess it's on par with the Civil War movie of like, oh, there's Wanda and Vision are living together. Um, Vision's keeping an eye on her, during the time of like Hawkeye and Tony Stark being like, oh, you got Vision playing babysitter for the strongest witch, like those times. And it's fresh off of Age of Ultron. So this is kind of in between Age of Ultron and grab the other pencil. This is in between Age of Ultron and I gotta make some quivers now. I'll probably make like, I don't know, a few of them. How does a bow quiver work? Like, I know that it's like kind of like a cylinder. You know, it's a cylinder with a hole at the top and covered at the bottom, and you know you stash arrows in it. But I'm wondering about the actual strap. You know, like where does the strap attach? I imagine it attaches towards like the whole end, but does the other end of the attachment go directly to the bottom of the quiver? Okay, so like newer technologies, they kind of snap in, you know, so that way they can hold on to something. But how does yeah, see that? Okay, I guess it does just go from top to bottom like that. Okay, good to know. Oh, there's some that are like suspenders where they kind of like a Y cable. All right, cool. So many bows out there. Holy shit. Yes, I'm just gonna design like some basic bitch quivers. But anyways, so yeah, they go to this heartbreaking scene, and it's only heartbreaking because we know what happens. Like we know what happens with Vision and Wanda in the end. Yeah, I'm just gonna design the quivers this way, just because they're oh man. So it's this beautiful scene of you know, them sitting at the Avengers compound. Pietro has just died, you know, and obviously they would have taken Wanda in because just like Hawkeye told her, like you need to get up now or don't, but you got to make a decision because shit is crazy. You know, during the Age of Ultron stuff with the Sokovia being lifted sequence and all that stuff. Um, so yeah. So we know what happens to Age of Ultron. You know, she gets to kill him. Vision gets to kill him. Quicksilver dies, and we don't really see what comes of that. So it was nice to see this scene because now we get to see like the the fruits of Ultron's labors, where Vision is still he's fresh off of killing Ultron. And you know, after they have that beautiful scene at the end of that movie where they're talking to each other, and and Vision's telling Ultron like, you know, a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts forever. And so fresh off of that, uh, they're sitting in the compound, and yeah, let me. There we go. So yeah, Wanda's just sitting on the bed grieving over her brother. So we don't know how soon it is, but it's, it's got to be soon after that movie. And we get to see the interaction that gets um that gets like Wanda to like Vision. And it's so interesting watching her journey now because there's like she's orphan girl, and then she wanted to make a difference. And I can get behind that because like I see a lot of, like we all see how crazy the world can be, and the bad parts and things like that. And we just want to make a change. You want to make things better. You want to make you don't want it to be so fucked up, you know? And she went and joined Hydra, but she had this line of like, we wanted to make a change. And it's like, okay, bad guy complete. Because now we can all understand wanting to make a change. It's just, how do you go about making that change that separates, people? So we see her going from that to, stepping up as an Avenger and being accepted by the Avengers. And now she's grieving her dead brother. And here comes this new cyborg who's kind of just sent there to watch her or something. I don't know if that's why he was there or not. But that's what they made it seem like, at least in Infinity War or Civil War. But just like in Civil War, when she was like, "Oh, Vision, we talked about boundaries and don't just walk in," and they had that cute scene of him being like, "Well, I saw that the door was open. I think," and then he stops himself, and you're like, "Oh, they have a relationship." So we get to see it for the first time, which which is nice. We get to see the moment where she's like, oh, where she immediately latched onto this synthezoid or whatever they call them, and she's like, oh, I like this guy. And like, it's Paul Bettany, so who couldn't? Of course, being charming as ever. And yeah, they're just talking about like how sad she is, and he's trying to comprehend. He's still like young, so he's still trying to comprehend, and I mean, the cutest part is that he's just like trying to cheer her up. And I mean, that's quite the task to try to cheer someone up after the last of her family just died, And her just sitting there wallowing in the fact that she doesn't have anybody. Like, they're all gone. I mean, right there, it's just like, okay, I can see how the teeter totters, you know what I'm saying? And then Vision just drops one of his vision bars, you know, one of them classic vision bars of like, you know, when he said a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts forever. Like he drops one of those where he's just like, you know, what is grief if it's not love trying to like last or something like that? Like ever, you know, what is love or what is grief but persisting love? What is grief but persisting love? I don't know. He says some of that vision shit, you know. And then yeah, right there, boom, sploosh. You know, you can see how enamored Scarlet Witch is immediately from that. So good. I mean, so good. The fucking writing on that shit, you know? So we see that scene, and you know, hearts are melting, people are crying, and then Agatha comes in behind Wanda and is like, okay, so let me get this straight. Because she's still just trying to understand her powers and where they came from. That's what this whole episode is about, so that's why they're going down memory lane. Agatha's like, alright, let me get this straight. Your parents died. Your brother died. Your boyfriend, who we just saw, why you love him, he's died. Everybody dead. So you're grieving hardcore. And what do? And they didn't discuss it, but in my head I started thinking about like, that's right, Wanda got snapped when Thanos did the snap. So it's like, what did she do? I mean, like, she got snapped back, so she was gone for 5 years. And Vision was dead, and whether he was alive or not, we'll never know, because he had already, like, quote unquote died when Thanos pulled that Infinity Stone out of his head. But had that not happened, like, just theoretically speaking, had that not happened, would Vision have been snapped or not? If Thanos just tried to do it without it, like maybe he doesn't go like half of life, but because he doesn't have all 6 stones, because you know Vision would still have his. If he was just like, okay, a third of life, maybe I can't do half, but I could do a third. And if he snapped a third of life, would Vision have been counted as one of those living beings, and would he have been snapped and things like, you know? So I'm thinking about like, oh shit. Like, that's right, she got snapped. So when she returns, she's picking up right from there. And it's just like, holy shit. Here we are 5 years later. We got, you know, we did the Infinity War. And, you know, we did all that shit. She's coming fresh off of, like, you took everything from me, and I don't even know who you are, and you will. Like, we're coming fresh off of that. Everything snapped. She's walking into, you know, was that Shield HQ or Sword HQ, whatever it is. Like, she's walking into something, which they don't talk about how they got his body. Like, obviously, like ownership rights is funny, and I wonder if that was like a part of Wakanda trying to make peace with, you know, part of them like trying to make peace with the rest of the world. Is like, okay, you know what, even though this is our vibranium that was stolen from us from Ultron and Claw, like, we understand that Vision was an Avenger, so our property eventually became an American superhero. So maybe, but they didn't talk about that at all. Like, it never came up as to how Sword or Shield or whoever got the right to do what they're doing to Vision. And what's interesting about this is that we're getting Wanda's point of view, and her point of view is obviously different from what we got in the earlier episode, where they were showing like, oh, Wanda, she broke in and she took Vision's body and da 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 da, and people were like, why didn't we see this before? And it was like, whatever, like, screw you, you know, like bad guy vibe. And now, if her memory is true, which we're gonna say it is, obviously I'm gonna take Wanda's word over whatever that, you know, sword agent guy's name is. I'm 100% taking Wanda's word over his. I think it was like 9 days, something like that. Like, it took him 9 days to get that footage. It was like, okay, well, now we know why it took 9 days to get that footage. You were doctoring that shit, so that way you could sell the idea of Wanda breaking in. You know, they doctored up the security footage to make it appear as though Wanda broke in and took Vision's body. And why wouldn't she? Because here you are, you know, keeping him from her when she's the next of kin. And, you know, is he a living being? Is he not a living being? Because he's like $10 billion or $3 trillion of vibranium, whatever they said he was. But from Wanda's perspective, now we see, like, oh no, she didn't do any of that shit. Like, it was almost going verbatim. And it was almost like, okay, we've seen this already. And then it was like, nah, you haven't seen this. Like, we know that you think that she tripped out because you saw that security footage. That, you know, she came in and took the shit and then dipped. And then after she dipped, she started this whole, this life with him. And he says something to her that was just like what Agatha was shocked about the other day, which is, he goes, oh, you know, you could bring him back to life. And she was like, no, I can't. Like, I can't do that. And part of me was like, how does he know that? How does he know that she could bring him back to life? Like, why is he just saying that? Like, he's not like, could you bring him back to life? Or he just said it definitively. Like, yeah, you could bring him back. It's like, who the fuck is you, son, to be able to say some shit like that? Poor girl grieving. And you over here spewing nonsense. Like, oh, she could bring him back to life. So that I thought that was interesting that he said that to her, because I'm like, who the fuck is it? Now I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, yeah, he's an asshole. Yeah, he's doing bad things. And yeah, he could just be a corrupt G-man. But could there be more to it? Could he be someone else? To be able to say something like that as definitively as he did, it was just a little sus to me. That's all. So yeah, but what we think is gonna happen doesn't happen. You know, we think like, okay, it's gonna be the security footage. She's gonna come in, she's gonna rip the body, and she's gonna dipset. No. She does the good guy thing. She steps back and she's like, you know, like I can't feel him. Or I think she says, I can't feel you, like speaking directly to Vision. Like, I know you got to think, like, they've been experimenting on his body for 5 years now, with Homeboy acting as acting leader. Or maybe it was only like a couple years at that point, because maybe the Rambo's mom wouldn't have been experimenting on him. But after her cancer got her 3 years in to the snap, or the blip, I guess, depending on which direction you're looking at it from, you know, 3 years into the blip, maybe they're not experimenting on Vision. But then after the Rambo mom dies, and Homeboy becomes the acting leader of Sword. Oh shit, why am I shading with the red one? She does the good guy thing, man. Wanda does the good guy thing. And she's just like, I don't feel you in there anymore. So you're dead. And this is when I think she's about to like blast some fools, but she doesn't blast fools. She's just like, okay. Like, he's dead, he's gone. I guess I don't have any right to him because he's not a living being. I don't know who owns him, whether it's Wakanda or whoever. But he's telling me he's not his, and I'm not trying to fight him right now. I just want to grieve and be sad. I've already accepted my brother dying. I've already accepted my parents dying. Now I have to know how to accept, you know, her, the love of her life dying, her fiance or something. I mean, I don't know what you want to call that relationship, but, you know, just another significant person dying, and she doesn't freak out like we thought she would. So, and that's when I'm shocked, because I'm like, wait, what? She doesn't attack? This isn't where she flips out? and becomes the bad guy. Like she did the good guy thing. And now all of a sudden, after everything that's happened in this episode, now I'm interested. Now I'm like, holy shit, what's happening? And I'm thinking about like, this piece of shit motherfucker doctored that video, and it took him a week to doctor it in order to make her appear to be like the bad guy or something. And yeah, I'm just heated about it. I'm just like, all right, like now I'm pissed because she just bounces and leaves. No fuss, no fight, no nothing. And you're just like, okay, she's gonna go grieve. And then we follow her immediately. She's going, she goes to her car. She glances over at a letter that's sitting in the passenger seat, and we don't know what the letter is. And it's like, okay, whatever. And she drives off, and you're like, okay, she's driving, who cares? And then she drives into Westview, and it's like, oh. And this is what's interesting about Westview is she drives into town, and it looks like a normal town. You got people in a small town and da-da-da-da-da, like all that shit is happening. What do I want to do here? Oh, yeah. I should probably do this. There we go. So she drives into Westview, which now is kind of interesting now that I think about it, because they had those cops out there the other day, and they're like, Westview doesn't exist. So I'm like, what? Well, does it exist or does it not? Like, I get it if it does or doesn't, but I'm under the impression that it doesn't exist, or those cops were brainwashed. But we don't know whether or not those cops were right or wrong, whether it exists or doesn't exist. Because, what I'm getting at is that there's two things that could be happening here. Either it does exist and Wanda drove in, and those people in the town that we see are real, and it's all the people that we've seen in the show so far, all the people in the neighborhood and things like that. They're all walking around, they're doing all their small town people stuff. And Wanda actually goes there. I mean, it has to be a real town because she's driving through it, and then she pulls up to a plot of land, and then she opens up the envelope. And this is where it gets super fucking sad, and it's like, oh my god. It's like a letter from Vision, or it's the property deed, and it's like Vision bought her or bought them a house so that way they can live together, but not under like the Avengers Tower, any government shit. Like, he's like, no, we're gonna get a home. And he did that shit. And it goes to show about Vision and how much he cared about her. For him to do that for her is for him to be like, hey man, I get it. Shit is rough, shit has been fucked up. Like, like, let's get you a home. Let's get you moved in there, and let's do the shit. Like, we saw them in Infinity War when they had ran off to Scotland or some shit. And he tells her, like, oh, I think it works between us. So I wonder, like, at what point from I think it works to let's grow old together. Which I don't know if Vision can grow old. That'd be interesting. I think it was more of a he'll just watch her grow old and he'll continue living, but he'll give her, the opportunity that she never had. I mean, at least not since her parents died. To like, hey, let's let's grow old together. It works. And here's my gift to you. And he bought her a fucking home. Bought her, has a plot of land. And Thanos ripped his fucking head off. It's like, holy shit, man. The fucking feels, man. So she's looking at the letter. We see what the letter is, and it's, Vision's last words to her is to grow old together. And it's the deed to the land. And it's like, oh my God. And I know this feeling. Because what happens next is she breaks down completely. And I think it happens. I mean, I don't know about with everyone, but at least when it comes to death and people dying, like, I think there's always that moment when it becomes real. Like, people die, and there's all the steps of feeling and realizing it and accepting it and mourning it and all that stuff. There's like the steps to grief. I'm sure there's like books on that shit, and I'm sure there's like doctors who talk about that shit. I mean, I don't know anything about it on a educational level, but if you've ever experienced someone you love dying, and then you know what I'm talking about. Especially if there's someone that you really cared about, of like, no, this person died, and there comes that moment where you're helpless, but you have to accept it. It's like you can't do anything about it. The journey's done. Like, whatever you and this person had, it's done. You don't need to forget about them, but you certainly, it's time to move on. And I think when it's someone that you really care for, it's not like just like someone who died. Maybe it's a friend of a friend, or maybe it was someone that you knew was going to die eventually because, they've been on a slow decline or anything like that. But I think it's more likely to happen when the death is sudden and unexpected. Because, all death is sad, in a way. All death deserves grievance. For sure. But I think when it's unexpected, like Vision getting his head ripped off, when we feel like that person's been taken from us, you know, you go through the motions until it hits you. Like, the chapter's done. Next chapter. It's like when you have to find the strength to go on to the next chapter without somebody, like without that person, it's like, oh. So yeah, Wanda, she just collapsed. Like she completely breaks down, man. I know that feeling. I've had that feeling. So when I saw that, I was just like, oh shit. I was like, oh shit. she's going through it. This is rough. And yeah, from right then and there, that's you know, an explosion of energy from the chest, you know, the comic book shit, you know, back to the comic book shit, you know. It's you know, energy releases out, and the world becomes created. And this is the part that I'm talking about when it comes to Westview and whether or not it had existed already or not. Because either it did, like Westview was real. I mean, it has to be if he bought land there. But it's like, at what point did Agatha come in? Because it becomes, you know, it's revealed that, you know, in the last episode, the famous, who was Agatha all along, like they did all that shit. Like, I don't know. I guess Agatha was just trying to run an experiment and running Wanda through all that shit to try to pinpoint what the hell's going on. And I guess, you know, because we don't have a clue as to what's going on. We don't know what Agatha's things are. I guess it becomes like, that's when we learn what it is after. It's like, okay, this is when all this shit started. I was thinking for a second that Agatha was the one who created the show, but I guess it was Wanda, because Agatha even straight up tells her, like, everything is created all the way down to the crown molding of these houses. And so, like, so yeah, I guess Westview does exist. Like, it is a real place. Because how could Vision have bought, you know, places to an imaginary land that didn't exist yet? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, that place has to be real. But I'm wondering, at what point did Agatha come in? Like, maybe like on some Dragon Ball Z shit, she was like, oh, I sense a powerful energy. And then she goes and investigates and then discovers, like, oh, we got an Avenger here freaking out. And how the fuck is she doing all this? But it's like, how did Agatha become aware of Wanda? Unless it's on some Dragon Ball Z shit like that. So yeah. Alright, one more. What am I at, 90 minutes now? Jesus Christ. Last one, and then the page is full, and you know, I guess I'll have to revisit this tomorrow to like color them in and finish rendering out everything on the page. Everything up here is mostly done. But yeah, once it's done, I could take a picture of it, scan it in, put it into my computer and digitize it, and then put it into my like official works for prop art, and at least these props in this section. And then I can move on to different props, like shit that you find around town and other things that you utilize, things that aren't necessarily like hunting or weapons based or anything like that. So yeah, Agatha. So we see it happen. I gotta go back and rewatch the ending of the episode, because they go from that, and maybe I'm just forgetting what happened because I was fucking in my feels at the moment with you know, going through my own shit of like re-experiencing that moment where I personally I collapsed in fucking grief after a friend of mine had passed. I was, after seeing that scene, I was kind of stuck there for a minute. So yeah, maybe. So yeah, after Wanda collapses, there we go. Basically, Agatha, we get to see her in her witch form, which looks super dope. We got like a little glimpse of it, of like the end of the dress and her boots and shit like that. In the previous episode. Yeah, I guess I'll just let that ride. But now, we're looking at Agatha in her whole witch outfit. She looks badass, and then she's like got the kids strung up. Oh man. And Wanda's about to like face off with her, and she's just like, yo, like this is when the big reveal happens, where Agatha's just like, so you're a real thing. Thought you were made up, but turns out you're not made up. You're a real thing. You're the Scarlet Witch. And now it's like, oh shit, there's lore. It's like, oh shit, now there's the Scarlet Witch is a thing. It exists. It's named. You know what I mean? Within, I guess, like the witch community. And then, made me think about just witches in general, witches and wizards in general. But in earlier in the episode, in the beginning, we get to see Agatha's backstory of like, the 1800s or the 14 or 1600s, whatever it is. Like, that old timey shit when I guess she had started reading a book that she shouldn't have, and they were like, "Yo, you reading a book that you shouldn't be reading." And she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about," and they're like, "You're lying," and it's like, okay, she's bad. Like she trying to lie to her people and play innocent, and damn. Can't believe I'm still sad about that shit. When she's with in that old timey shit and she's with other witches, like Agatha's magic color is purple, and this is where me looking into the colors and the whole infinity stuff, and it's like, okay, we had all the six stones, which are represented with yellow, orange, red, green, blue, purple. And then, we've witnessed all these different powers of like Carol Danvers being blue from the Space Stone, and the Scarlet Witch, hers being red, but oddly enough, it came from the Reality Stone, which is yellow, and she has reality warping abilities, which are red, and the Reality Stone, the ether, was red. So it's like, okay, so it kind of makes sense, kind of doesn't make sense. Maybe that has to deal with like the storytellers just not being prepared to on this level to deal with these things, to have had these questions answered when they got into it. Which, may be the case. I don't know. It's all good, but yeah, so the time was green that Doctor Strange was using. So anytime he used the time stone magic, it was like green powered. So there's like this color coding to the magic system, and Agatha has purple magic, and the purple stone was power. So it's like, okay, there's this purple magic. I wonder if it has anything to do with like the purple power stone, as far as like it's a powerful source of magic, where it's like, all magic is powerful, obviously, but when it comes to actual just raw power, which obviously Agatha's interested in because of her interest in Wanda and Wanda's raw power, and the whole meaning of this episode for her to try to understand where the fuck are you getting all this raw power from. Yeah, like it's like, okay, so like maybe that has something to do with something. I just don't know. Again, I'm an idiot, so I don't know what to think about when it comes to these things. And So it's just interesting that she has, there's all this color coded magic. Like most of it that we've seen has been orange. Which what was the orange power stone? It was the soul stone. So like maybe like the good wizards that are like operating there using like soul power, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's viewed more as like a good thing, even though it was like the more gnarly stone that required like sacrifice in order to get it. Like, Black Widow had to commit suicide in front of Hawkeye in order to obtain it. So it's like a super gnarly stone. But I guess maybe it's like whatever. And just thinking about all this color-coded magic stuff, it's just like, okay, maybe oh, you know what? What time is it? It's going on 8. I gotta put on a pot of coffee, and I gotta boil an egg. So I'll be right back. Let me do that, and then I'll you know what? I'm gonna call this episode, man. Just final thoughts on everything that I was trying to get to, like just revisiting Wanda's episode. I know I slow roll through these things, but this isn't scripted. This is all off top, and I'm trying to create shit as I go. And I don't know, maybe these quivers are just mad garbage, but I just wanted to fill in the space. Once I ink them and color them, maybe they'll look a little bit nicer to know what parts are wood and what parts aren't. And same with the bows. Again, this is a rough start to a rough place, a rough environment in a rough part of the world. So it's actually fitting that everything's a little bit rougher. And then as I get better with all this stuff and get to the finer points, I'll get to the finer parts of the world, and and beyond. So yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see all this color-coded shit, how it goes, because even like the crimson bands of Sidorak were mentioned or used by Doctor Strange against Thanos in the Infinity War. So it's like, okay, so Sidorak's the thing. And that's like a red power, crimson, hello. And her being the Scarlet Witch is red, and then she's like, they straight up say it like, oh, you're using chaos magic, like you're the Scarlet Witch. Oh shit. And we don't know what, I mean, at least I don't know what that means necessarily. I know her name in the comic books is Scarlet Witch, and I understand like the chaos magic and how that's directly linked to Nightmare, the character Nightmare, and things like that. Even though I believe Nightmare is a green power, which is weird. It's going to be interesting to see how they try to blend all this color stuff, because it's like, how is Crimson night chaos magic and Nightmare like a straight up chaos being or chaos magic user, but he's completely green. I believe he's green. Like if I look him up, let me look him up real quick. This will kind of be the closer. Marvel Nightmare. Yeah, so I mean, I guess he only wears green, but I've always ever seen him like green. Like, yeah. So I'm guessing even all of his magic is green. Yeah. So and we know green is associated with time. So, maybe they try to bend these things to be like, even though he's a chaos magic user of Crimson, his stuff is green because he's using the power of time in order to live forever and ever. and maybe that's what's happening here. If they go with him being green. There was a second where I was thinking the Pietro character was gonna, that actor was gonna be playing Nightmare. I thought he has like that look, or he's kind of, you could David Bowie him up, and then make him look like some old British rock star vampire, all in green. Like I thought that's where it was gonna go for a second too, and it might. I don't know. Like they could do whatever the hell they want. So yeah, we'll see, man. There's theories out there that Mark Hamill will be playing Nightmare or something like that, which is also perfect casting. I could see Mark Hamill's old ass playing this guy. I think it, depending on how actiony. I guess he got a little bit actiony when he fought against Kylo Ren. So, he'll be able to wave his hands around and shit like that. But, part of me is wondering, like, who are all these people in this town? Yeah, whatever, man. Let me close the episode. So yeah, I fit another option to some like heavy bow thing just because I had some space here. So just imagine. I mean, I guess I could draw in some shit. Like I don't have to draw in the bow. But I was even wondering, like, how do I want to do that? And it's like, okay, we'll draw that. Almost like it's like the wave. So it's just like another heavy, strong bow. And, just imagine the string fitting back there somewhere. But yeah, heavy bow for heavy drawback. I have no idea. It probably is bullshit. Maybe it's just harder to bend. So that way if you can bend it, you get that much more snap on the arrow flying. And yeah, did some quivers here. I'll finish these up on the next stream, and then we'll move on. Hopefully to some bigger and better things. I desperately want to get to some characters. Again, there's only like 2 or 3 of them in this area, so it'll only be 2 or 3 of them, but at least that'll serve for a good, 3 to 6 streams working on them, maybe even like 9 or 10. Who knows? Who knows? But that'll be fun. It's been fun chilling with y'all and cracking open some feels on this Wanda episode, dealing with seeing her grief and everything that she's gone through. But yeah, that scene where she collapsed to her knees, I literally collapsed to my knees at one point once the grief hit me, and it didn't hit me until like a week or 2 later, when after a friend of mine had passed, when all was said and done, and I left her parents' home, and I was walking out of the sidewalk, and I realized, like, this is it. This is it. That was the goodbye. That was the last interaction I'll ever have with anything that'll ever have to do with her. After that happened, I literally collapsed on the sidewalk and just broke down crying. It was insane. So yeah, when I saw Wanda do that, shit, man, that got me in my head. So yeah, man, it was nice to chop this up with you, talk about the episode, talk about myself for a little bit, work on this stuff. Uh, Hopefully some of it's good. Hopefully some good will come from all of this work because I love it and I want to do it. And you know, I'm trying to get trying to get this work, man. Trying to get this illustration work, and you know, we'll see. Anyways, I'm GMrDrew at GMrDrew on all socials. Follow, like, and subscribe me, man. I'm doing different things in different places, so you know you can catch me in all those places doing something, man. Let's talk, let's interact, let's do all that stuff, man. Let's GMrDrew.art, my website, portfolio, everything like that. You want to hire me, or if you just want to see everything and anything that I'm doing, all my links are in there, so you can see everything that I've been up to outside of the stuff that I stream, as well as well, yeah, I guess that's it, man. I love you all, man. Y'all take care. Have a good one, man. I'll be back.